Hello and welcome to Have You Got Your Shit Together with me, Caitlin O'Ryan, the podcast that celebrates not having your shit together. On today's episode, we have Woodzy. Woodzy is an award-winning flow poet, a 2-time TEDx speaker and winner of UK Unsigned 2019. His poetry has enabled his appearances on such shows as the BAFTA-winning Life and Rhymes and Sky Sports Fight Night live at Wembley Arena. Woodzy was always destined to become a poet, being born on World Poetry Day, from studying at the Brit School to opening for Stormzy and being on BBC One Extra. Woodzy captivates his audience with witty wordplay, use of language and relatable topics. He brings spoken word and music together. His band headlined the TAO Hotel in Las Vegas in October 2023, as well as performing shows in LA, Houston and other US states. Aside from performing, Woodzy facilitates a variety of workshops in schools, colleges and workplaces looking to change people's perspectives on poetry. His latest project, his debut poetry book, Peace Out, Peace In, is available to purchase now, and we were lucky enough to have him perform one of his pieces from it at the end of this podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Here's Woodzy. So, hey Woodzy.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Finally, I feel like we've been trying to make this happen for a very long time.
Yeah.
You've been very busy.
So have you.
I've been here, there and everywhere. But you've had loads of shit going on. You turned 30.
I did.
Yeah. And at the same time, you launched your poetry book.
I did.
Which I have here, called Peaceful 30. I see the play on words there. How was that? How was the night?
The actual night was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I think because my birthday is World Poetry Day.
Every year?
Yeah. I was born on World Poetry Day.
That's amazing.
And then I only found out...
It was written in the stars.
And also World Forest Day.
Wow.
And my last name is Woods, which is why everyone calls me Woodzy.
No way.
And I was actually born in a place called Woodhatch. So Woodzy hatched from Woodhatch on World Poetry Day. You can end the podcast there.
Well, thanks for coming on. I mean, there's nothing more to say, really. And it was just a night full of, like, your best friends doing poems?
Yeah, just kind of like my best friends on the scene, people that, the night that I was running, that we kind of came together. And to be able to have it in Kindred, which is such a beautiful space.
Stunning.
And then, to have people like Simon, like YA, like Chloe Carter, I had like 10 people share. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was absolutely incredible to kind of have
you
that.
With their presence.
And then to have people that don't usually come to poetry nights, but I've been friends with for like 20 years.
Wow.
And there was one point I went to the bar to get a drink for some people, and then I walked past and there were like 3 people from like different generations of my life. All like around one table.
Wow.
And I was like, this is the weirdest thing, because I would never picture you 3 like ever being in the same space.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like being in the multiverse in that scene. But no, it was a beautiful experience.
So
and to spend my 30th birthday being surrounded by people that love poetry, like there was not a better way to do it.
It's such a dream. So, okay, for people who don't know, who are listening to this then, what's your journey been like into poetry? Because you're now like full-time poet, which is rare.
Yeah, so from end of December last year, I was able to take it full-time. But it's been a long journey to get to that point. So I'll try and say it. I'll give you the short version of the long story.
Okay.
So my first, I guess, avenue into performing, I went to this thing on a Saturday called Stagecoach.
Nice.
Which is like...
An actor.
Acting, singing, dancing, 3 hours of each. And it was at this point I was like, I can't sing. I can't dance. So I must be an actor.
Okay, nice.
Right? And I was like, okay, maybe this is what I'm going to do. And I love performing, but cannot sing. If you've heard me sing karaoke, you know I cannot sing. I wish I could. If I could sing, my life would be so different.
I always think that.
Oh my God,
effortless.
Yeah, I'd sing to everyone. Like, I wouldn't speak, I'd literally just sing.
Would you rather be an amazing singer or an amazing dancer?
A singer.
Yeah.
For like, if you dance everywhere, people just like, oh, what, show off. But if you sing, people are like, oh my God. Like,
yeah, true.
Yeah,
true.
But then you meet someone that can do both, and it's like, damn you.
Triple threats.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
But so I was at Stagecoach, and I quite liked doing acting and drama when I was there.
Yeah.
Like the people running the workshop, it was good fun. And then I was then part of a show called Star for a Night.
Very nice.
Which was like a local thing to where I live.
Yeah.
And it had loads of kids come in over like a half term, and some are singing, some are dancing. And then me and my friend Sam were like the presenters almost.
Yeah.
And the theme they were doing was the Blues Brothers.
Okay.
So we were like, probably like 12, something like this. And I loved it. I loved being on stage. And we did like a little like acting sketch as well.
Yeah.
And then at the end of year 9, I went for an audition at the Brit School.
Wow.
To study theatre.
Yeah.
And I got in. So then I went to the Brit School for year 10 and 11.
Whoa.
Did my GCSEs.
Yeah.
And then I was part of the theatre strand when I was there, which was cool. Rizzle Kicks were the year above me.
No way.
So that was pretty cool.
Adele went there.
Adele went
Zeph,
there.
actually, who's been on the podcast, went there. Have you met Zeph?
No, I haven't.
Poet, amazing.
Okay.
Zephaniah. He's you love him.
I've heard of Zephaniah. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And Flo was one of the first people to go to the Brit School.
No way.
Flo went to Brit School.
Yeah.
Miss Yankee went to the Brit School.
Whoa.
So, I was there.
The alumni.
Yeah, the Brit School alumni. And, but when I was there, I kind of realised maybe acting isn't for me because I hated learning scripts.
Fair.
I hated it. And I think because a lot of what we were studying was Shakespeare and it just didn't appeal to me. Like, just wasn't really...
I think if it's not taught right, it feels really inaccessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just didn't really appeal to me. And then all my friends on the playground, like... I say the playground, like we're like 6 years old, but we were like, what, 15, 16, yeah. They were all writing bars, right? And they did this thing which was like a year 10 versus year 11 rap battle.
Okay.
When we were all in year 11. I wasn't involved. Like, I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But Loyal Kana was the year below me. So I saw his first ever lyrics that he did.
Oh my God.
And he like went up against this kid called Pascal. I'm not going to repeat what they said.
Okay.
But that was like a bit of history that I think only a select people would have seen.
That is so cool.
And yeah, it was just so much fun watching that. And then this is where I met one of my best friends, a guy called Charlie. And Charlie was studying media at the Brit School, and he was doing comedy rapping. So
Niche.
Charlie was quite a big guy.
Yeah.
And he decided to call himself N Tubbs. Right?
We love a pun.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I love a pun. And then he was doing a show at Croydon Clock Tower, and he was like, look, I want you to come and be my hype man. And I was like, yeah, cool. Like, that sounds great.
Yeah.
And this was at the time there was a song Tinchy Strider put out called Game Over, which had like Chip, Tiny Temper, Example, Gigs, Devlin, and probably Professor Green.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. But anyway, he was like, I want you to write 16 bars for this. And I was like, no, like I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I decided to write something. I can't remember it all off the top of my head. It's so bad looking back in it. But the first the first 2 lines are something like, I'm so fly, I think it's about time I landed. I ain't talking Heathrow, it's all about Gatwick.
A close rhyme.
Oh my God, awful. But anyway, I performed it in his set, and I got like a really good reception from the crowd, and then like a buzz of performing.
Sick.
So then I went home and started writing, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be a rapper. Definitely not. And then I decided to start kind of pursuing music, dropped out of the Brit School.
Whoa, Brit School dropout.
So telling my parents like, oh, I'm going to drop out and become a rapper.
Oh my God.
So that didn't go down too well. But then I went on a music course actually in Walthamstow.
Where we are now.
Where we are right now.
Shout out.
At a place called Deviate Training, which isn't there anymore. It's turned into like a massive music college, which is literally just like somewhere off the main road now.
Okay.
But then I had a teacher called Fusion, who was my
teacher. This is a full circle moment.
Yeah. So Fusion, I was in his class for level 1 of events management and performing.
Yeah.
And then just basically, it was like 6 months and I learned so much from doing it.
Yeah.
So we got to plan an event that was going to happen at the end of our course at Stratford Circus. And we had, I can't remember who the headliner was, but on the lineup was doing one of her first ever performances was a very young Little Sims.
No way.
At Stratford Circus. So I was on the same lineup as Little Sims.
Oh my God.
Who's now like a global star.
Yeah.
So that was incredible to see. And then, yes, that was like a 6-month thing. And then they then launched like a year course the year later. And it was like the first time they were doing it. So I went back and I did the year course of like level 2 of events management and performing. And then, I was like doing loads of shows. I had a music video on channel AKA and Stars, which was like a big music channel at the time. And I was doing music. Was in like a 2-3 year relationship at the time, which then caused a lot of problems because I started to get like a lot of attention, and it got to the point where they were like, you cannot respond if the person trying to book you is not male.
Wow, okay.
And then it got to a point where they were like, okay, I want you to stop doing music for me.
Oh, wow.
And I did.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like 21 and thought I was in love.
Yeah.
Decided to give up doing music, became a PE teacher.
Whoa.
Which was a big difference.
Oh my God, yeah, so different.
And then, that didn't work out for whatever reason. And then I kind of lost where I was creatively, didn't write anything for like 2 or 3 years. And then because I'd been doing the PE teaching, one of the guys who was in the same department as me, he was like, oh, you should apply for this job. It's in America. And it's like to become a football coach and you go there for like the summer and teach like... and I was like, okay, cool. So I like looked it up, applied, and I was like, this was in like February of 2016, I think. So I applied to go for the summer, and then they came back to me like, oh, can we have like an interview with you? And they were like, we think you're overqualified for the role, so how do you feel about instead of coming for 6 weeks, you come for 9 months and you come out in like 2 weeks' time?
No way.
And I was like, shit, okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, like, fuck it, I'll go.
Yeah.
And then went to America, had no idea what I was getting myself into. Was there for 9 months. And then during the actual summer part of it, I was running, well, not running, but I was like part of a team that were running a soccer camp in Brooklyn. And like the view was incredible. I'll find a picture to show you later.
Wow.
But so that was from like 7:30 to 3:30. And then afterwards, I was like, I want to find something to do. So I was like looking up stuff, and I was like, oh, there's an open mic at something called the Norican Poet Cafe.
No.
Right? And I was like, oh, let me go along to this. This sounds fun. Saw people performing spoken word for the first time and was like, oh my God, like this is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
So then fast forward to October, come back home, and then someone who used to run a youth group that I went to with Charlie, N-Tubs, that we used to go to, they launched a spoken word evening in Croydon called What You Saying, which unfortunately isn't around anymore. But they were like, oh my God, you should come like and see this night. And I was like, yeah, I'll come along. Went along to my first ever spoken word night in the UK. And then there was a guy headlining called Broken Pen.
Wow.
So I was blown away by Broken Pen. He was there with a guy called Samuel King.
No way.
And
these are like the OGs of the scene that we're talking about.
Yeah. And this was like my intro into spoken word. I saw them perform and they were like, oh, like I did like something a cappella or whatever on the mic as well. And they were like, there's this event happening in a couple of weeks called Flow Vortex. You should come to it.
Mad.
I was like, okay. And then I just kind of got introduced into the poetry scene from there. And from there, everything just kind of snowballed. And here I am 6 years later as a full-time poet.
Wow.
So, a bit of a mad story.
That is wild. Unexpected. I find it mad. I think particularly with the poetry scene, it is so welcoming and like you step into it and then people see your talent and people want to help you. Because like coming from like an acting background, sometimes it can be like that, but it's almost... People are more protective, I think, of spaces because it feels like there's a lack of space for them. Whereas I think with poetry, it is like, everyone come, like you're all sick. And I think...
It's like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, and because everyone's got such different points of view, I feel like you don't necessarily compare yourself to people in the same way.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Someone will get up there and do a poem about their cat, and then someone will go up and do a poem about grief, and it's like both poems are absolutely incredible.
And you want all of those on a night. It's 100%.
Like in one of the poems that I've written, I say you don't know poetry if you haven't laughed and cried in the same evening.
Yeah,
and
that's beautiful.
It's so true.
So mad.
And on that night, actually, when I met Broken Pen and Samuel King, there was also someone there called Miss Yankee, and she was like, "Oh, you should come to this night called Chocolate Poetry Club," which unfortunately isn't happening anymore. Did you ever get to experience?
No, I didn't. It was pre-pandemic, and I only started after the pandemic.
Yeah, Chocolate Poetry Club was special.
Yeah, people say that about it.
Yeah, it was in like this tiny room in Camden, like upstairs in a pub. And there was no mic, and like it would get so packed, like people were like watching from down the stairs.
That's so wild.
And like the first half of open micers, you had to vote for who was your like winner. And the second time I went, I got the audience vote. So then my first ever feature set was at Chocolate Poetry Club, And then I think it's the first time you just like see your face on a flyer, and it's like,
it's well exciting,
what the hell? Like
when you get your first payment from like doing a poetry gig, you're like, oh my god, I gig now.
Yeah, 100% professional.
Sick.
Like,
okay, well, thank you for the speed run through of your life up until now.
You're welcome.
On a scale of shit to together, how are you feeling today?
So if shit was 1 and together was 10,
Sure.
I'm like a 7.7.
I think that's quite high.
Yeah.
7's like a British average, so 7.7 is like quite
it's
good,
just above
actually.
average.
Yeah, why is that?
I just feel pretty good right now. Like I've got a lot of stuff in my calendar. I like live by my calendar now.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, what did I do yesterday? I have to check my calendar to know what I did.
Yeah.
I think since turning like 27, 28, I like have to live by my calendar.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Because I can remember like song lyrics from like 20 years ago, but you like asked me, what did I do yesterday? No idea what I did.
It's mad, isn't it? I don't pay attention enough to my own life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say like 7.7, feeling pretty good. Like my calendar for the next 6 months or so is like pretty packed up.
Yeah.
So feel pretty together. And yeah, pretty busy. Feel like my life battery is on like 77% as well.
That's
so
good.
Yeah, because I'm making sure I've got a little bit of time to just breathe and have time for myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's such an important thing of having your shit together is finding time to just not do too much. Which is something I've really focused on in the last year.
Yeah.
Like at the start of this year, one of my big things was to not say yes to everything.
Which is hard. I think especially
so
when you're self-employed or, you know, trying to follow a creative ambition, you feel like you have to say yes to everything because like 100%. Who are you to turn down an opportunity?
Yeah.
But actually that burns you out so quickly.
Yeah. And it really does. And like there would be certain things where it's like, hey, can you come to like 3 hours away and do a show for £50? And last year I'd have been like, yes, I'll be there. And now I'm just like, no, I can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of comes into like valuing yourself and valuing your work as well, which is a really tough thing to do. It's like when people ask me like, how much is it to book you? I'm like, oh, I always feel so like awkward about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. And then some people like it should always be what your biggest booking is. That should be your like
precedent kind of thing.
And I'm like, yeah, but someone that booked me in Vegas and then like a startup that's booking me for a spoken word night in London, I'm not going to have the same budget.
Different. I also find it hard to put a value on because for me, I'm writing poetry for me. Like I'd be doing it anyway. So like,
100%.
Like I'm still going to be churning it out, like whether someone wants to pay me or not. So I find it difficult to be like, actually, this one's worth like X amount of money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I agree. Some of them are like, should be free. Like there's sometimes like, I literally just want to go to an open mic and get what I need from other people's performances. And
also, like, I get value in being able to stand and share. Like, I get enjoyment out of that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't pay me.
Yeah. No, that's not what we're saying.
But I'm saying that it's hard to put a price on it.
Yeah, it's very tricky.
So on that then, what would you say is having your shit together? What does that look like for you?
I think having my shit together, I was trying to think about this. I think overall it's being content and being happy with where you are. Because I feel like I'm never going to 100% have all my shit together.
Yeah.
Like there's always new things that come up. Like life changes every single day. It could change within like a split second. And I don't think if someone says they've 100% got their shit together, teach me. But yeah, I feel like having my shit together looks like being busy, being happy, and being healthy.
Yeah. That's nice.
Those are...
So like the busyness is kind of like feeling proactive, productive, like you're contributing towards something. And then peace as well, I guess.
Yeah, peace has like become a big thing in like all the projects that I've done. Peace out, peace in, peaceful 30. Like finding my peace has become a big thing. And like when I meet someone as well, I'm just like, if you're not bringing peace to my life, I do not want it.
I'm having this realization massively at the moment that sometimes when I get a rush of a feeling, that is adrenaline and that is anxiety.
Yep.
What 5 years ago I would have been like, this is like fun chaos. I'm like, this is making me feel anxious.
Yeah.
And I'm losing sleep, and sleep is very important.
Oh my God. Yeah. Especially when you turn 30, I'm like, yo, if I'm not getting like at least 7 hours... I don't know if I'm going to be able to function. Like, literally, because summer's coming right now, I've been trying to get fit. And I've been like... So my swimming pool is like a 45-minute walk away from my house.
Okay.
So at least twice a week at the moment. I'm walking there, swimming, and then walking back.
Oh,
so I did it
wow.
yesterday. I woke up this morning and I was like, bro, like, I'm tired. Like, it's taking it out of me. But when I leave, I feel great. Like, when I leave...
You always do, don't you? There's like, them endorphins.
Endorphins.
It's like, good drug. Okay.
100%.
On that then, I asked you to think of an object that makes you feel like you've got your shit together.
Yes.
What is it?
So I have two.
Go on.
Because the first one is really shit. And it's my calendar.
Sick.
Because, like, my calendar in my phone, like, it's really bad. But I do have another one that I brought with me.
Okay, cool.
In my bag.
Show and tell.
My thing is, if I smell good, then I feel like I've got my shit together. So this is what I wear.
I can't even pronounce that. Lou Dissy. I'm just doing it in my most Oldham accent.
Izzy Miyagi.
Lou Dissy Paul Hom.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay, how would you pronounce it?
Well, it's from Izzy Miyagi, so I just say it's so nice.
That is so nice.
So if I'm having just a shit day, I'm like, yo, if I can still smell nice.
I'm gonna spray smell me.
Yeah, do it.
That is so
just
nice.
Fresh, right?
It's so fresh. It's like a summer's breeze.
And a really weird thing happened like a month ago. So I was on the tube. I was going to an event somewhere in Central. I can't remember, but it had like a really long escalator.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this was in my bag, and I was going to bring my laptop with me, and I didn't. And I had this in my bag, like in the front pocket.
Yeah.
And you know when you just feel like someone like bumps into you on the escalator, and so I turned around and there was a guy with like a ski mask on, and my bag was open, and I was like, oh my god, like this guy's like, and he was just staring at me like, do something.
No.
So then I got to the top of the escalator and checked my bag. Luckily, the only thing in there was my cologne, but he took it.
No.
He took my cologne.
Fuck.
So
for what reason? That is such like an intimate stealing of something.
I have no idea.
Like you.
He just wanted to smell good. So whoever he robbed next, it wasn't me.
Oh my god!
But he must have smelled nice.
That's wild.
And then for the rest of that night, I did not have my shit together because I really threw me off, threw my vibe off. Because I was like, well, at least he didn't take my phone.
Yeah, fair.
But took what I smell like. So, now I think since then it's become more valuable to me.
I always remember watching there was like a Graham Norton episode, and I can't remember who the actress was on it, but she was like, the perfume that I have is really personal to me. And once someone asked me what it was, and she was like, darling, some things I just have to have for myself.
Wow, she said I'm gatekeeping this.
This is me, and you can't have it.
Fair.
Please, can you tell me about a time in your life where you felt like you really had your shit together?
Yes. So the first one was when I sound checked at Wembley Arena.
For what?
So I did. So my poem "Man Down" was on Sky Arts Life and Rhymes, hosted by the late great Professor Benjamin Zephaniah, and from it, then
that poem is phenomenal. I remember seeing you perform it for the first time at the one that we headlined together, the Verses one.
Yeah, Verses.
And I was just like,
Roundhouse.
My mouth was open, my eyes were wide. It was so beautiful.
So that poem's actually inspired by my friend Charlie, who I met at the Brit School.
Right.
Who's like a big part into my story of getting into performing and everything, which is why it's so important to me.
Yeah.
And it's inspired by him going through some stuff, and me writing this to celebrate him being able to get through his really hard part of his life.
Yeah. And it's a mental health poem for men specifically. Yeah.
Specifically for men, but for anyone who can relate to it. And it touches on depression and on suicide, and I think anyone that's just been through a time when they feel low, and just being able to be like, you can get through it. Yeah. And I think what was so nice is then after performing it on Life and Rhymes, I got a follow from someone on Twitter, and it was like, said in their bio, like, director at Sky Sports. And I was like, this is not real. Like, I was like, this is... And then they DM'd me and they were like, oh, hey, like, they'd like to have a call with me. And they were like, they've seen the Man Down poem, and how would I feel about writing something for the new boxing season coming up? So Eubanks Jr. was doing a fight at Wembley Arena, and they were like, we'd love you to put something together for it. And they sent me like a backing track that I had to write to. So I remember I got it, and then as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, and I started writing something to it straight away, and sent it back, and they would send me a couple notes, and then the second one I sent, they were like, this is perfect. Wow. So then I got to go and film the first, 70% of it or so. Like, yeah, the first like minute and a half, we filmed it like outside Wembley Arena, and they were like, this is going to go on the big screens before like it happens, and they'll see it online on TV.
Yeah.
And then like a week before the show, they were like, the last 4 lines are so powerful. They were like, how do you feel about doing that part live at Wembley? So they were like, the video will play on the big screens and then you can come out.
Way.
And then I was like, yeah, like, of course I'm going to like to perform at Wembley Arena, like absolutely crazy. So I got to do it, and they got me like an Uber from my house to Wembley. And then like I got to go but when I was in an empty Wembley Arena and I heard my voice over the whole empty stadium, like sound check-in, I was like, pinch me, like this is not real, like you kind of got somewhere, like this is like a major moment. But what's so great is my friend who I wrote Man Down About, I got to bring him with me, so he got to see like everything behind the scenes.
That's so sweet.
And there was a moment where we walked into the green room, and I'm not even a massive boxing fan. Like I know like who some of them are, but he's like big into it. So we walked into this green room, and he was like, it was like a kid in a sweet shop. And then like I was just having a conversation with this guy afterwards, and he was like, do you know who that is?
Yeah.
And it was just like the presenter of the show. I didn't know his name, but he was like, that's this guy. And I was like, it was such a nice full circle moment for me to be able to bring him with me to there to experience it. And I always say when I do that poem, I always give that little story beforehand, because it's just like, whatever you put into the world, it's going to come back to you. Yeah. And that all started from me writing a poem to celebrate my friend going through a hard time, to then being at Wembley Arena.
But also like, it's telling as well that he was going through a bad time, but like look at, not to diminish like how long it takes to get out of those moments sometimes, but like he stuck at it, and then he got to come with you to experience something like that. Like that's so amazing.
And that was like a real like life moment. Like when I look back on my life, that's like a top 5 moment that will always be there. So what they call it, a core memory. So that's like a core memory. So that was a time I really felt like I had my shit together. I was like, professionally I've done something that's like amazing, and as a friend at the same time I've ticked boxes. So that was a moment I was like, yes, like, and we went out to eat afterwards, and it was just like a celebration. It was really really nice. So that was a moment that's amazing. I felt like I had my shit together. And then the other one is in LA with the band and with Yaz. So we'd just done this.
Yaz is YA who's been on the podcast.
Yes,
you should listen to that episode. She's phenomenal.
Yaz is an incredible person. She's the best heart I've ever met. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for YA. So check her stuff out. Like absolutely incredible person, incredible poet. But so we'd just done the first, so we went to America for 2 weeks. I went for 3 weeks because I got to go and do like Texas afterwards, and everyone else came home. But so we did a conference thing and working on typewriters in Vegas. And then I did a headline show in Vegas that week. So, but that week for me was crazy because I had to sort everything out for the band. So I had to like fly like 4 people out there, 5 people including Yaz, get an Airbnb sorted. And then I had like 4 American poets come in and meeting us as well. And I had to manage all of it.
Oh my God.
Set up like briefs of like, this is what we need to do. This is where we need to go. So I had to do all of that. And then on top of that, do the headline show with the band in Vegas. We landed the day before. And then the show, we were on at 11 p.m. So 11 to midnight, we had like an hour set. And they're 8 hours behind. So it was like 7 a.m. here when we were going on stage. And I'd just done a whole day of like working at a conference. And so I was like, fucked. And then, but then after we'd done that, and then the conference was done like 3 days later, we drove to LA, and it was the best thing ever. Like, and the other guys in the band were like to me, they were like, they could feel me slowly coming back to life. Like as the drive went on, and like the stress was slowly like coming out of me. And I remember when we got there, we got to this Airbnb that we were then staying at for like 5 days. And this part was kind of just like, didn't have any work on. We just had one show to go to, but we just got to chill. And there was a moment the next day, everyone else was still asleep. I woke up and I went and sat outside by the pool by myself, and the sun was out, and it was like probably like 25 degrees. But I just sat there and I was like, wow, like you did it. Like you achieved this. Like, and now you get to just enjoy this next 5 days with some incredible company, incredible people. And that was a time I was like, yeah, like life is good right now.
These moments where you're like, I think because, you know, writing and doing spoken word poetry, it's very much like off your own back, isn't it? So I've definitely had it where I've done like, you know, one of your gigs that you invited me to headline or something like that. And it is a pinch me moment of being like, wow, like me just writing shit in my room has got me to a point where people are like, celebrating it and wanting to listen, and this feels like such a big moment for me, and that is like the most special thing because it's purely you. And it's like, I don't know, maybe, you know, you shouldn't crave people's validation, but I do.
I think everyone does a little bit.
But it is like, wow, like I think it's one of the only times where you can truly just be like, God, I kind of got myself here and I'm really proud of myself. Obviously people help you along the way, like you helped me, but yeah, it's a nice moment where it's like your words and your work have been enough for something, you know?
Definitely. And I think, especially when you're at home, like in bed at 2 a.m. and you write
unable to sleep.
Right. Yeah. And you write something that you think is just for you.
Yeah.
And at the time you're like, oh, like this is great. I needed this just for me. And then fast forward like 6 months, you share it on stage and you get people that go, to it, right? And like connect with it. And it's like, wow, I wrote this just for me. But really, I wrote it for more than just me, and it connects with people, and that's such a beautiful moment.
Yeah, I had this conversation with Zeph actually when he came onto the podcast, but because he writes similarly to, I think, your style as well, and my style, which is like very vulnerable, and it's like part of me working through things is sharing it. And what I was saying is like you write something for yourself, but then part of the healing of the thing that you've written about is almost in the sharing of it. And when you share it and it's not yours anymore, and that's a really beautiful thing, because like I think, you know, shame or whatever is strongest when it's kept to yourself, but the power of sharing it, the power of it being received, is so healing in and of itself. And people making space for that, and then people coming up to you afterwards and being like, that really resonated with me, blah blah blah, like that is part of the healing as well.
100%.
And that's why spoken word nights are so beautiful, because it is just this like cathartic experience for everyone in it.
Yeah, and like when you go to a spoken word evening, you don't know what you're gonna get, but you're gonna get what you needed.
You're gonna get nourished somehow.
100%. And like we said, there's so many different people that will do stuff, but there'll be at least 2 or 3 lines that you'll leave with and you'll be like, wow.
Yeah.
And sometimes like, why didn't I write that line?
Yeah, and then I'm on the tube home like fucking writing some shit.
Yeah.
Okay, in opposition to that then, a time in your life where you didn't have your shit together.
Yeah, so I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I was 22, not writing anymore.
Yeah.
Working in a primary school as a PE teacher.
Wow.
And then working part-time at Nando's.
Nice.
No idea what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And just got out of like a 2.5-year relationship where for like the last 6 months of it, I was like, don't want to be in this anymore.
Yeah.
But I was like, I feel close to this person's family, so I don't want to break up with their family, but I want to break up with them.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
That was like, a really low point. Didn't know what I was going to do. But then the opportunity came out and was like, come to America and do football. And I was like, still don't know what I want to do, but sure. And then from me taking that like leap of just like going for 9 months.
Yeah.
And then the poetry stuff found me there.
Yeah.
So I feel like, when you don't have your shit together, you sometimes just have to kind of take a risk. And if a little bit of light shows itself to you, kind of jump at it.
Definitely.
And see where it takes you.
I think, when I've been in like stagnant places, I think saying yes to something, or like just kind of shaking up your life a little bit, because there's a saying that I can't remember. It's like, a change is as good as a... I can't remember the next word.
It's interesting.
Insert word here. But basically, just like, I think when you step out of like your comfort zone, or the thing that is like becoming stagnant, like naturally change will occur, and
definitely
it will be good.
Yeah.
Like it will be different, and you will have to grow to meet the change.
Yes.
And more opportunities will come.
Definitely. I was having a conversation literally on Saturday with someone, and we're talking about like redirection.
Yeah.
And like how at first it can feel uncomfortable, but that's because you need to adapt and adjust to it for you to be able to grow to your next level. It's like when you're playing a video game.
Yeah.
and you get to like level 5 or whatever, and there's like a boss and you can't beat them. You're like, what? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And you try it a couple more times, and you go back to it and you're like, oh, that was so easy. Like, it was such an easy thing to do. I think, it's just about like trying, and if something fails as well, not seeing it as a failure and seeing it as a lesson. That's something that's become so important to me. God. So like, even when I first started doing spoken word, if I forgot a line on stage or said one word wrong,
I'd die. For
the next 3 days, I'd be like, you're so shit. Like, why did you do that? Like, everyone realised. And the truth is, no one even cared.
No one cares.
But because in your head, you're the main character, right? So you're like, no, like, this is so wrong. I can't even post the video now. But it's just about kind of learning from that, and also just not taking things as seriously as they seem at the time. Because obviously people say hindsight's such an interesting concept, because when I look back at things, I'm like, oh yeah, it was still fun. Good. Yeah.
I always remember there was like I don't know why I keep quoting Graham Norton here, but Cher was on Graham Norton, and
you're going to be on Graham Norton. Here you go.
This is me manifesting Graham Norton.
Come on, Graham Norton.
But Cher was saying that I think her mum said to her, like, if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it doesn't matter. That ability to like zoom out of yourself and give yourself perspective, that has always been something that I've kind of called back to.
100%.
Just to like take a like higher view of it all, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, 3 things that make you feel like shit.
Public transport.
Public transport, which you got here.
I did.
Thank you for facing your fear.
Oh, like, because I live outside of London.
Where do you live?
A place called Reigate.
Reigate.
But, so the local station I go to is Red Hill. Please don't stalk me if you're listening to this. And look for me at Red Hill Station. But I have to park 10 minutes away, because that's where it's free, at the top of a hill. Walk down the hill to the station. And there's been times I'll check the train app and it's like, train's like 10 minutes away, get there. No trains. And I'm like, bro, like, and there was a time, when was it? Like last month, I left an event to make sure I got the last train home from Victoria, which was 8 minutes past 12. That was the last train, right? It got to East Croydon, still going good. Next stop is Purley, then Red Hill. And then it leaves East Croydon, and as it leaves, the driver comes, or the conductor, whoever comes on, hello, ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, this train will now terminate at... this train is going now fast to Gatwick Airport. The next stop is Purley, and then fast to Gatwick Airport. This is the last train of the evening.
Oh, my God.
So it stops at Purley. 90% of the train get off.
Oh, my God.
And it's like 1 a.m, it's pouring with rain, and then because everyone then has to get taxis from the station...
Hell.
I then have to wait for like an hour to get a taxi.
No.
And I was like, this is the last train. Like, what if there was someone in a wheelchair on the train that then can't get home? And like vulnerable people, like it's the last train home. I was like, that's ridiculous. Like, I know you can get like money back or whatever, but that's not the point. Especially if it's the last train and you're dependent on it. So public transport. And then it's also, sometimes I get public transport and I realise I hate it because the public are on the transport.
It's the public, not the transport, that is the issue.
I think it's both. Like, a bit from column A, bit from column B. But people eating, like, sit down right next to you and then they eat like a tuna sandwich. Yeah. And then like...
More and more I'm noticing people like openly scrolling on their phone on TikTok. Yeah. And I'm like hearing...
And it's like loud.
It's so loud.
I'm like, bro, like have headphones for a reason. Yeah. But I don't know, because like sometimes you get on the train and it's like completely silent. I'm like, this is also weird. It just feels like everyone is completely silent. So it's, I don't know.
There's a sweet spot.
Yeah, there is a sweet spot. And I drive to some events, but then it's like finding parking and it's just long. That's so a lot of times I do depend on public transport and more than often it lets me down. Yeah. So
that was one.
That's one of them. Right. What else do I have? Setting alarms.
Okay.
I hate setting alarms. The only time I enjoy setting an alarm is if I'm going to the airport.
Yeah, because that's an exciting alarm.
Yeah. Yeah. Setting an alarm to like have to get up, and then I have such a love-hate relationship with my snooze button. Like, and then I was watching a thing, I think it was actually on TikTok, and it was like, you shouldn't press snooze because then you set like a new sleep pattern that you fall back into. Yeah. And that's why you feel so shit when you get up after a snooze.
Because it's like the REM, isn't it?
Yeah, and you should get up like straight away, but
it's so hard.
It's so difficult.
I snooze like 5 times before I get out of bed.
Yeah, I set like, if I have to get up at 8, I'm setting an alarm for 7 and then just snoozing it until 8. Like, if I have to get up at 6, I'm setting it at 5.
I'm doing the same thing, I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so tough.
Yeah.
So I want to get to a point one day where I never have to set an alarm again.
Wow.
That's like a
Some people say that they can do that their body clock just wakes them up.
I wouldn't trust myself.
No. I think that's if you have like a regular schedule.
Yeah, if like you're always doing it.
I don't. Yeah.
No, neither do I. Like, it just changes all the time.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like, maybe in like 5-10 years time, when I have children, they're going to school and you have to get up and do the school run or whatever.
They can be your alarm.
Yeah, I'm sure they would be as well. So trains, alarms, and then the other one is missing out on events or the fear of missing out.
FOMO.
So FOMO, like, it makes me feel, and like, especially if like I'm already booked for an event and then someone says like, oh, hey, can you come to this event?
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't because I'm already booked here.
Yeah.
And like, I've had to miss like friends' birthdays and stuff because I'm like booked, and I just feel so shit about it because I'm like, I really want to be there. So I don't know, one day if we can clone ourselves and I can be in 2 places at once. But like missing out on things that I really want to go to is something that I hate. Especially like there was one event I really wanted to go to. This was like last year, but I was ill, like I was actually sick. And I was like, I can't make, they didn't believe me that I was sick.
No.
They were like, oh yeah, you're just like cancelling or whatever. And I was like, I'm really sick. Like I actually can't. So those are 3 things that make me feel shit.
Yeah.
Hey, Ant.
Hey.
You do a great job in editing this podcast, might I say. If people like the podcast, what do they need to do?
Like it.
What else?
Follow it on social media.
And then what?
They could share it with every single person they know.
Thanks, Ant. You can go back to your corner now.
Bye.
Okay, well, in opposition to that then, 3 things that make you feel like the shit.
Oh, yeah, so many things make me feel like the shit. Like, I love feeling like the shit. Okay, so the first one is when you're on stage performing a poem and you say something and there's like a unison, That is one of the best feelings, especially when you're doing something new that no one's heard before. Or like someone says, say it again, like you get like a wee laugh. That is a great feeling because it's like, yes, you understood the assignment. So that's definitely one of them. And also changing someone's perspective on poetry. So I do a lot of shows with a company called So Far Sounds, and most of the audience there are not like poetry fans. They're like going to see musicians perform, right? But I get this comment nearly after every show, like by at least one person that'll come up to me and they'll be like, when I heard you were doing poetry, I thought I was going to hate it. But I fucking loved it. Where can I see more of it? And for me, that is like, I've done my job for the evening. Best,
isn't it?
Right? Because then it's like, you've had a perception, you're like, oh, I'm not going to enjoy it.
They're imagining like some guy wearing a beret and like a turtleneck jumper, like doing some weird performance poetry with no shoes on.
100%.
And then when you perform and it's just like storytelling, and it's like moving and it's like rhythmic and like barry as fuck. It's impressive.
Barry as fuck. I like that.
But it's impressive and it changes people's perception of it, because I think people assume that poetry is like elite and it's like for other poets and it's indulgent, but actually the style that you do, my favourite style of poetry, is because it's accessible and it's political and it makes you think, and it's like a mini little piece of theatre. Yeah.
And I think what's so great about it, especially after doing a few So Far Sound shows, is my stuff became not as performance-based, but a lot more conversational.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's helped me so much more.
Yeah, because you're not saying it at them. You're like inviting them in.
One of my favourite things I remember seeing, there was a poet, he now lives in New York, his name's Luke AG. And when he would do a set, he would start off by talking to the audience, and then without knowing, he'd be in the poem.
Wow.
And he did it throughout like the whole set.
That's
and I remember
cool.
watching it and thinking, that's so sick. So then I was like, I have to try and incorporate this at least once into one of my poems. So I've done it like once. But yeah, I think just it becoming so conversational. Yeah. So yeah, changing someone's perception. So when someone comes up to me afterwards, they're like, you've like changed my opinion on it. For me, then I'm like, I feel like the shit.
That's cool.
And then that also happens when I go into schools, because I run a lot of workshops like in schools of like an intro into what spoken word is. One of the first things I say in the workshops is like, put your hands up if you like poetry. And you get like 1 or 2 hands. And then I say, okay, well, put your hands up if you like rap music. And I get like 70-80% of the hands go up. And I'm like, cool, do you guys know what rap stands for? And then I get all of them to like have guesses, because rap stands for rhythm assisted poetry.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go. You learned something new
Every day's a
today.
school day.
Come on. So yeah, rap stands for rhythm assisted poetry.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, so some of your favorite rappers, and then what I'll get them to do is like one of their favorite lines. I'm like, right, I want you to slow it down and then just kind of like say it to me. And then like, I was like, see, so even your favorite song lyrics and your favorite rap lyrics is poetry.
Yeah.
And then when someone they say Brazil play like poetry, right? So it's kind of like teaching them that poetry is in everything. There's poetry everywhere.
Yeah.
So then if I then get students come up to me and be like, oh, like we really enjoyed it or whatever, that makes me feel like the shit as well. Because then it's like, I've got in at an early age and I've tried to change your perception of poetry. Because I remember when I was in school, I didn't like poetry. Didn't like English because I didn't connect with my English teacher. And it's such a big thing. Like if I'd have had someone come into a school when I was in like year 6 and do that, I'd have been like, oh my God, like this is mind blowing. Yeah. So the fact I'm able to go and do that, I leave feeling so motivated and inspired. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, like I'll drive home and like, oh yeah, I feel like shit.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh, the other one is after I get a trim.
Oh yeah?
After I leave the barber shop, for the next like...
Feeling yourself.
For the next like 3.5 days.
Oh, wow, it's specific.
Yeah. Because then after that it kind of runs out a little bit and I'm just like... But yeah, after I've left and then the next like 3 days, I'm like, yeah, like... I like look in the car as I walk past, like, okay, my barber did well. And then my confidence is up a little bit. Then I feel like the shit. I feel more confident. I feel like I can do whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm. Okay, something that makes you lose your shit in a positive and then a negative way.
Football.
Go on.
Oh my God, yeah. So I'm a massive Arsenal fan.
Right, yeah.
And football can have an effect on my whole week.
Really?
Like if Arsenal lose on the weekend, my whole week is done.
Wow.
And it's not as bad as it used to be. Like I've tried to kind of distance myself a little bit from it really affecting me.
Yeah.
Especially being an Arsenal fan, because we're just made for heartbreak. But this is how you know I'm loyal, because I've been through a lot and I'm still here, right? But yeah, no, football makes me lose my shit. And I think from coaching football as well, like I've like seen like both sides of it. And like I used to work for a company called Little Kickers when people first get into football. So I was a football coach for like 6 years almost. And I was like, you can sign up when you're 18 months.
How?
Yeah.
What are you kicking?
There's a ball. It's called like a size 2. But then I would have to like plan these like workout things, and it was like using color coordination with cones. And I did this thing called the ball warm up, and it was like you got to like put the ball to your ear and say, "Is the ball awake? Like, is it asleep?" But because I did that for like 5-6 years. And they leave that company when they hit 7.
Right.
So some of them I saw from when they
Surely
first
the 7-year-olds
started.
aren't playing against the 18-month-year-olds.
No. There's like...
That feels like an unfair...
No, it's like 18 months to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 7.
Wow.
And I would do this on a Saturday morning, and I would do them back to back to back to back.
Oh my God.
So by like lunchtime, I was done.
Dead.
Right, I was done. But it was such a beautiful thing from when I first started to see some of them go all the way to the end and leave. And it was really like emotional. Yeah. And then the ones who've like been on that journey, I've like stayed in touch with their parents as well.
So sweet.
And it's interesting. And I can't even remember why I'm talking about it now. But
why it makes you lose your shit?
Oh, it makes me lose my shit. Yeah, football makes me lose my shit. It was the one thing that will be able to affect me, and I can go absolutely crazy. Yeah. And I was thinking about it because literally on the way here, the train went past the Emirates Stadium as well. And there's a moment, like when you go to a live game, like a split second before someone scores, right? So everyone is like cheering and shouting. And there's this one moment before the ball goes in, like after someone's kicked it, and it just goes silent. And you get this little pause, and then you get this roar. And I'm telling you, there's nothing in the world that can replicate it. Oh, wow. It is the most beautiful thing. Okay. Like that is poetry.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's like... Yeah, and I remember going to my first game as like a 7-year-old. My granddad took me, and I remember walking up the stairs, and then you see like the glow of the pitch, and then you see it. Yeah, there's nothing that beats it.
Oh my God,
But,
you're selling it to me. I want to go.
Oh, you have to go. Like, if you've never been to a live game.
I've only ever been to see Oldham Athletic play, and it was fun.
Yeah.
I felt like I was in, do you know L.S. Lowry, the artist?
Yeah.
The Stickman thing. I felt like I was in that. Everyone's like eating pies.
That makes sense at
Yeah.
Oldham. Yeah, that makes sense. But, okay, well, at some point, I'll get you to the carpet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would love that.
100%.
Okay, something that makes you lose your shit in a negative way then.
Social media.
Go on.
I hate social media with a passion.
Yeah.
Like, but I have to use it
Yes.
because it's basically my CV and how I get bookings and how I do this. But I hate it with a passion. I hate having to post something and if it doesn't get like half as many likes as the one before, I'm like, oh, what's wrong with this post?
Yeah.
And also just that, like, people that can sit behind a keyboard and have access to people is mad. And some of it's like quite... So I did an SBTV session like last year, and I didn't even realise, someone sent it to me. There's like 3 people that have done like reaction videos on YouTube. So they've like watched it and then they like react to it while it's on. And it's just really fun, like, to watch it. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But then I think because there's such a meme culture now as well, and it's like people will purposely write something to get the top comment, which I think is mad because they might not even necessarily mean it, but they're like, oh, if I can say something and this has got like 1,000 likes or whatever, then I'm going to feel good about myself.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to get to a point where I can just hire someone to just handle all my social media, because
I agree.
Oh my God, like, it's such a toxic place.
I think the problem is you read these things and you assume that like everyone is like a critical reviewer.
Yeah.
You give everyone the same power as
Yeah.
like a Guardian review, but actually what we should be thinking is that like if you're in a pub, they are the drunkest person in the corner who's like
100%.
stumbling over to you and saying something and just like bat them away like you would like that.
100%.
But we give everyone the same kudos.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't do that for like, I don't know, theatre reviews or like...
No, and
some
it's like
people
you can
know more.
99 good comments,
Yeah.
but I'll pay attention to the one bad comment.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I guess that's kind of like, not ego, but like vulnerability coming into it. Like, I'll take the one bit of criticism and be like, shit, I hate this,
Yeah.
over like people saying, yeah, this is sick.
Yeah,
and
you
I'm
don't
like,
hear the nice
"Ugh."
things. Yeah. Also, it reminds me of a conversation that I had with, do you know Black Score? Because he was on the podcast.
Yeah.
And he was, because he's like an artist in every sense of the word. Like he, creates
Every
art as well as
sense,
poetry
yeah.
and like, puts it out there. But he was saying that him and his friend used to have a thing because I think they did like little poems or like music videos or something like that, and he was like, which one of our babies are we going to kill today? Because just by sharing it, it's never going to get the amount of likes that it should, but you have to just stand true to the integrity of it. And like,
You have to, it's so difficult.
it's so difficult.
Yeah, I was with Alex, who's the guy who plays bass in my band. We were just like practicing before one of the shows, and he was like, oh, let's look through all the bad comments and find which is the most funny, right? And the funniest, it wasn't even a bad comment, the funniest one was like, when did Mr. Beast become a rapper? On what, like my video, and I was just... Yeah, and then I was let me go back and look at videos from like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's one of them, shout out to my boy Festa, because he's like, he got glasses and he's Asian, but like the way he raps is incredible.
Yeah.
And like the top comment is, when did Harry Potter leave Hogwarts and become a grime artist? And like, it's so horrible, but like you just have to laugh at it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. Okay, a moment that you found some shit out about yourself.
A moment that I found some shit out about myself. There's been quite a few of them, to be honest. And I think one of them was learning that I could use a typewriter.
Okay.
Because I didn't know I could use
You'll
a
have
typewriter.
to teach me how to use mine.
Have you got one?
Someone got me one, but I don't know how to use it, so I'm
Okay.
too scared to use it.
Yeah, so I got offered a gig like probably 2 years ago. And someone had been offered, like a poet in London had been offered a gig like they were supposed to do on a typewriter, being set up in a store, like writing custom poetry for people.
Yeah.
They couldn't make it, so they put it on someone else who's a friend of mine, Moke. And then Moke put out a thing and he was like, can't make this gig, can someone do it? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Because this was my whole thing of saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
And then I was told I was going to get training because I'd never used one before. I turned up to the event. They're like, here you go. I'm like,
No.
so I was set up in a store in Carnaby Street, which
hell.
was run by Harry Styles. The
Nice.
store was called Pleasing.
Oh, yeah.
And as people would walk around the store and buy stuff, I was set up at the register with a sign that said custom poetry. And then I'd have a conversation with someone. They're like, oh, I'd love to have a poem about this. I was like, okay, so I have to type a poem. It made me realise how much I rely on autocorrect.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, there, and I was like, oh my God, how do I spell this word? And it was like the
so
easiest
funny.
word. And I was like, oh my God, like autocorrect has changed.
The game.
Yeah, and like saved me from like awful spelling. But as like I did them, it got a little bit easier and had some beautiful interactions with people. And I was like, oh wow, like this is something I didn't know I could do that I can actually do. And from that is then how I was able to then go and do this in Amsterdam and Vegas because with the guy who'd booked me for stuff, I told him that I'd done this and he was like,
that's
an amazing idea, let's have that there. And they set up like a whole thing called Poets Corner there that me and YA were able to then write poems for people on a typewriter, and it's something I never thought I was going to be able to do.
Cool.
And it's actually something we're going to put in the new show that we're launching, Writer's Block.
Yeah.
So we're going to have like a poem that everyone can contribute to, and then it'll be a typewriter there that then one of the team will then type it up.
That's
and then
so sweet.
That'll be like a thing that'll be framed for that evening.
That's
and then
so nice.
We'll always remember it from that event.
That's
so it's a really nice way of just being able to kind of put it all in together. And and the other time was then like I said earlier, being in LA and getting through all of that. And I was like, I basically just had to micromanage like 12 creatives.
Yeah.
And again, never thought I'd be able to do that. I remember when I used to work at Nando's, one time they were like, can you run breaks? And I was like, I don't know how to do that.
No.
But then going from that to then being able to do that, that was one time when I was like, oh, okay, like this is actually something I can do. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, shittest piece of advice you received.
To get a real job, because you'll never be able to make a living out of being a creative.
Yeah.
And that was from friends, from a couple family members, from a teacher.
Yeah.
And they were like, you need to focus on what you're actually going to do for the rest of your life, because there's no way you'll be able to do it like full time.
Yeah.
And for a while I definitely believed that and was like, when people asked me what I do for a living, I would say a poet, and they were like, okay, so what do you really do? Like, what's your real job? And for a while I was like, well, I'm a football coach as well. And now I'm just like, well, now I'm like full time. So the shittest piece of advice would definitely be, you can't be a creative in today's age and make a full-time job from it.
Yeah. Okay, shit you wish you'd known sooner.
No one cares about anything.
Yeah.
Like, literally, no one gives a shit what you do.
Yeah.
And that goes back to forgetting a line earlier.
Yeah.
But it goes to you thinking you've done the best thing ever. No one gives a shit.
Yeah. No one is thinking about you as much as you are.
Yeah. And it was like a thing that I saw this guy getting interviewed, and he was like, there were people walking in a shopping mall past him, and he was trying to interview people, and no one was like doing it. And this other guy was like, yeah, that's because everyone's doing their own shit. Like, they're all the main character in their own head. They're all going through their own shit.
They're not prioritizing you.
Yeah, like they're going to do this, they're going to do that.
To be.
Everyone is their own main character, and no one really gives a shit about someone they've never met before.
Yeah.
So as sad as that is, like,
it's also quite refreshing though, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah. Like,
once you accept it.
Yeah, like, no matter what you do, at the end of the day, no one cares.
Yeah. Okay, we're at the point of a shit shot. So that's a photo that to the outside eye looks like you had your shit together, but at the actual time, you definitely did not.
Get up and show you? So this is on my Instagram, and this is from July 2022, I think. And it's when I was in Cardiff with my friend Kieran.
Very nice.
We went for a weekend in Cardiff just to go and be boys.
See Cardiff's sights.
So in the picture, I look like I have my shit together. But anyway, we went out that evening and we stayed at an Airbnb and they only gave us one key. So my thing was, I was like, you could take the key. If you get back before me, you have to leave the key.
Oh, this sounds like it's not going to go very well.
We get separated on the night out. Here's the picture.
There he is. Okay, very nice. God, that looks sunny for Cardiff.
It was in like July. Yeah,
That
it
looks
was,
like LA or something.
right? And
Mad.
I think I even put the caption as like a GTA loading screen.
Cardiff edition.
So we go out, we get separated somehow.
Yeah.
And I get back to the Airbnb at like 3 a.m. I know he's back because he messaged me at like 2 saying, oh, by the way, I'm back.
Yeah.
And my response was, cool, leave the key. No response.
Oh, no.
I get in, it's on like a 3rd floor. So I get into the main building.
Yeah.
I get upstairs and he's not answering the phone. So I'm start banging on the door.
Oh, my God.
And it's in like an apartment. So there's like families and stuff like, so I'm like, I can't just be banging on the door.
Yeah.
I called this man 87 times before my phone died, right? No response, no reply. He's in there sleeping.
Yeah, fast asleep.
Fast asleep.
Yeah.
Because I was drunk at the time, I apparently then went on Instagram Live and was sat down by the door like this, cussing this man until my phone died. Anyway, he then opens the door at like 10:30 the next morning. He's like, what are you doing there? I'm like...
Were you just sat on the floor?
I was lying on the floor. At like 7, someone in a suit opened the door, obviously going to work, probably thought I was dead, screamed.
No.
And then I was like, have you got a toilet I can use? And he just like walked past me.
Of course.
Again, like no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
And then, he opens the door at like 10:30. I go in and I'm like, yo, at this point, I'm not even going to drive you home. Like, it was like, I was so angry.
Bitter.
And then, because we only had like 1 bedroom, so he got back first. I was like, obviously he slept in the bed. So I was like, I went to lay on the sofa. I lie down and close my eyes. The fire alarm goes off.
No.
At this point, I was just over life.
Hell.
Completely over it. And that was a real low point for me.
Yeah, that is rough.
And that's the picture. Looks pretty good. Looks like I had a good time. And I did not have a good time.
Oh my God. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
So, Woodzy.
Yes.
Have you got your shit together?
I'm getting there.
Yeah?
Is that an acceptable answer?
Yeah. Do you think it's possible to get there ever?
No.
No.
But it's possible to get closer.
Okay.
But I don't think it's possible to ever be 100% of having your shit together. But like I said, today I feel like 70%. Is that what I said? 77?
You said 7.7.
7.7.
You moved the metric.
Okay, so from 7.7 to 77.
Wow, this podcast has done bits for you.
Just adding numbers to it. I feel like I can... If I get to 88, then I'm happy.
Okay.
Yeah, because one of my favourite numbers is 88.
Nice.
Yeah, because one of my favourite movies is Back to the Future.
Nice.
So let's see if these bastards can do 88. It's one of my favourite quotes.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a delight.
Thank you for having me.
Yay! Okay, so you're now going to read us a poem from your new book, which is called...
Peaceful 30.
Available where?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Well, actually, it's not online until next week, but hopefully by the time this is out, that'll be a thing.
Yeah, it will
so
be
it'll be
out by now.
available from my website, which is www.woodzyofficial.com.
Nice.
So you can go and grab it from there.
Amazing. So there's 30 poems in it.
Yeah, and I
you've
would
asked me to choose...
like you to pick a number between 1 and 30.
Okay, I'm going to go for 28.
28, poetry in everything. Once upon a time, I realised I could rhyme. Picked up a pen, a piece of paper, pictured pain. An hour later, I was playing games. Paper planes. Words were flying in my brain. In and out, no drive-through. Trying to see this from a rhymes view. Trying to open minds like open mics do. There's poetry in everything, the words are trying to find you. I'd like to show you more than a show. It's more than you know. It's fast and it's slow. It's yes and it's no. It's words on a note. It's a verse and some notes. It's church and it's home. It's every car on the road. There's poetry in every single scar that's on show. It's every bone that you broke. Every tone that you spoke, it's in your head. Your shoulders, your knees and your toes. It's everywhere and anywhere. You just got to look. There's poetry in front of you, it's not just in a book. Poets everywhere, but no one wants to know. If you never planted seeds, bro, don't expect to grow.
The grass is greenest in a poet's palms, perfect pair in Noah's Ark, poems flowing, growing fast, this is how you raise the bar. I said there's poetry in everything, you just need to read it. Language is poetry and you just need to speak it. Heart beating in your system, yeah, there's poetry in breathing. The best poem I ever heard was the sound of my family's laughs all merging into one sound. It's the look on her face when you know you made your mum proud. It's that £1 you used to spend on penny sweets at the corner shop. It's finding your way somewhere without using Google Maps when you're sorta lost. Trust me, that's poetry. It's all around us and I'll prove it. There's a reason your body clicks when you're moving. The sound of the smile in your voice, it's soothing. Poetry today, it isn't always visible. It isn't always heard. You'll find it where you least expect, I bet that's how it works. Here's one for the phone typers. Siri and Alexa are today's greatest ghostwriters. Auto-correct changing words more than your mind does. Tell it to duck off. I don't care if Instagram doesn't like us. Certain poets will make you want to have writers blocked. Speed bumps and potholes hitting home like writer's block. I might just stop, as you're gonna start. Have a look around. Poetry's not that far. It's closer than you think. You just gotta feel it. Poetry in our generation will no longer stay hidden. What's written, we will be it. Peace out, peace in.
Now that made me lose my fucking shit. That was so good.